Good afternoon, members of the media. This afternoon, we convey the message of the ANC, which is our initial reaction to the successful conclusion of the ANC candidate list. As leader of society, at the heart of our 30-year democracy, the ANC has ushered an irrefutable transformation towards a democratic society. The ANC is fully committed to meeting the demands of the society it leads. At the 55th National Conference held in December 2022, the ANC made it clear that our priority is to defend and advance the gains of freedom and promote unity through renewal. Organizational renewal is a crucial process in the realization of a national democratic society. The ANC launched its manifesto to the people of South Africa, outlining the 6 priorities that have come to be known with the Maihlome phase and the Maihlome rally that we held some 2 weeks ago. We are confident that the candidate selection process adopted by the Special Extended National Executive Committee meeting will give expression to the manifesto and our ability to live up to the promise to our people contained in those 6 priorities of the 2024 ANC manifesto. On the 2nd of August 2023, informed by the adopted candidate selection guidelines, the ANC announced the commencement of the candidate selection process, which entailed the nomination and selection of candidates who would serve as public representatives at national and provincial levels under the ANC's banner. This process has been managed by the Electoral Committee, led by our stalwart, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, and his other esteemed comrades who have steered the process with absolute integrity and independence. The electoral process was designed to be open, transparent, inclusive, and participatory, reflecting not only the views of the branches of the African National Congress, but also of the alliance partners and the broader democratic movement and progressive sectors in our country. The NEC painstakingly sought to create a harmonious balance between democratic branch nominations with strategic political interventions, crafted to ensure the selection of dedicated cadres possessing the utmost capacity, qualifications, and experience. Guided by the ANC's policies, our commitment to unity and renewal, and other considerations, the ANC's members of parliament and provincial legislators should and will shoulder the vital responsibility of giving substance to our policy positions, as well as their roles defined in the Constitution. We expect that our candidates will be aligned to the ANC's manifesto, in line with the national developmental objectives, while also championing effective public involvement and oversight in the roles that they will be playing. After an elaborate process that combined selection and election, the ANC list for Parliament and the 9 provincial legislatures can be characterized as a mosaic of culture, gender, geography, and skill. The list is representative of the non-racial, non-sexist promise of the South African Constitution. The list also signals a significant intergenerational mix, with young leaders stepping into the national body politic. And of course, this is something that we're feeling very confident and excited about. It is our conviction that this process demonstrates the ANC's position as the only political party capable and intentional about both descriptive and substantive representation of young people, of women, and other groups. intentional about inclusion, about diversity in our outlook on governance and matters of leadership. The ANC's election committee has followed a thorough interview and vetting process for all candidates involved to ensure that the list reflects the deployment of individuals characterized by the right skill set, integrity, experience, and capabilities to serve the demands at provincial and national government. Our integrity safeguards are intended and premised on paying due deference to our nation's constitution and its legal framework. The ANC's constitution and guidelines are taken into account and other public interest considerations. The work of the Integrity Committee is not novel, nor is it a function of electioneering or this list process. It has become a permanent feature in the work of the ANC and its commitment to purge itself from ill discipline, from corruption, and from disunity. It is our expectation that the work of the Integrity Commission will be continuous and inform and strengthen the NEC's outlook even post the formulation of the 7th administration. We are fully committed to electing leaders within the framework provided by Through the Eye of the Needle. This framework helps us strengthen ethics of our members, particularly those deployed in the public service. Our core values of courage, service, self-sacrifice, human solidarity, integrity, temperance, humility, honesty, hard work, self-discipline, and mutual respect remain at the forefront of everything we must do in order to restore hope and in order to continue to end the mental leader of society. Let me turn to the criteria. The criteria for candidates to qualify for nominations comprised of a comprehensive set of requirements, ensuring that suitability and commitment to the ANC's values and goals is safeguarded. To qualify, candidates preferably possessed post-matric qualifications or demonstrated capacity, experience, education, or expertise conducive to making constructive contributions within the relevant legislature or executive. Moreover, candidates were mandated to complete 4 OR Tambo Leadership School online modules covering crucial topics such as the history of the ANC, building, organizing, understanding government, as well as understanding economy and sustainable development. Additionally, candidates should maintain ANC membership in good standing, exhibiting a proven track record of commitment and involvement. So it wasn't just about membership only, and involvement not only in the ANC, but in the democratic movement or government. In addition to rigorous interviews that were held, all candidates underwent vetting to ensure that they represent the ethical values expected from ANC public representatives. All candidates agreed to subject themselves to lifestyle audits, and all candidates should not have been charged in a court of law, have no adverse findings against them from the ANC disciplinary process, nor by the ANC Integrity Commission. The representation of women, youth living with disabilities, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, individuals, these have been paramount in the process of candidate selection, is also an indicative of the ANC's commitment to a list that reflects what South Africa truly is. The Electoral Committee received 2,457 candidates nominated for National Parliament. 31 comrades declined nomination. Amongst those are comrades who have served the movement admirably for decades and to whom we owe a sincere debt of gratitude for their contribution to shaping the first 30 years of South African democracy. 284 candidates were interviewed by the Electoral Committee. On the final list submitted, 52.5% are women. We have increased youth representation and inclusion to 17%. The list has ensured the deliberate inclusion of a diversity of sectors, including persons with disability, traditional leaders, alliance partners, and, as I indicated earlier, other groups that address the challenge of intersectionality in our society. The ANC is pleased to announce a successful conclusion of its public representative candidate selection process, which enables us to make a timely and compliant submission as required by the IEC. The ANC's list will be released to the public in due course. We echo the words of President Ramaphosa when he launched our 2024 elections manifesto at Moses Mabhida Stadium in eThekwini 2 weeks ago. I quote, "The challenges of our struggle for a better life for all are difficult and diverse. Transformation requires honest and dedicated leaders. We are working hard to restore trust and confidence in us as the leader of fundamental socio-economic transformation in our society." At our last two national conferences, the ANC vowed to address society's challenges and to serve the people with discipline and integrity. The ANC is committed to developing and, where necessary, correcting its members and leaders. That is part of renewal. Close quote. Our candidates for public representatives, led by the face of the elections campaign of the ANC, President Ramaphosa, have a huge responsibility to ensure that as we celebrate 30 years of freedom and move towards the next phase of our journey to build a better life for all, we do so together with the people, and that we act decisively. And therefore we call on all South Africans to join us when we say, let us do more together with more determination than ever before. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to take it to you, members of the media, and see if there are any comments to be made. I do also want to say up front that a much more detailed analysis of our list, blow by blow, is going to be given on Monday when the chair of the Electoral Committee, President Kgalema Motlanthe, comes through together with the Secretary General. Once the list is submitted to the IEC and has been published by the IEC, we will then bring these leaders to come and give you a much more detailed analysis of what is contained in the list and give you a sense of how we are aiming basically to strengthen the public service by strengthening institutions of parliament. But at this stage, I am looking for any hands. Ms. 24. Is it working?
Yes, I think it's working now. Thank you so much for that update. Just a clarification question. Can you expect the list to host or to have any names of people who are favored in the zoning commission report? For now, it's not mentioned.
Okay, please go ahead, Mr. Newsroom.
Junior Omar with Newsroom Africa. Firstly, Mashini, has the ANC submitted the list? Because there's been a lot of questions whether it has submitted, it has not. The Secretary General was expected to go to the IEC physically and submit that list, but it seems like now he is resorting to submitting it online. Secondly, in 2019, the ANC was one of the last parties to also submit its list. The party has been talking about renewal and good governance, but if it seems like the party itself internally is failing to do something as basic as submitting a list earlier than most of the parties that have never been in government, how then should South Africans then trust the ANC to continue leading the party? In terms being subjected to the lifestyle audits? Thank you.
May I just tackle those two questions, starting with yours, the last question, Junior. The ANC is submitting timelessly. That's been done electronically. The idea that the SG was going to go to the IEC house, I don't know whether you got this information from the ANC. I don't recall communicating that information as the spokesperson of the ANC. The IEC now has a digitized environment, so you have two options. You either go physically or you go digitally. We've elected to go digitally. So that's the first, to your question. Whether we submit on Monday, this past Monday, or whether we submit today, this is not a marathon. In fact, you can praise the ANC for having rigorous and consultative processes, other than lists that are drawn up in a boardroom elsewhere. Our processes are rigorous, and our processes equally comply with the IEC. But I don't think that there's a marathon between us and other parties where we follow our process to the T. We have a massive army of structures in the democratic movement that have got to be consulted with. We have to speak to Amakosi. We have to speak to Abahlali in the form of the civic movement. We have to speak to workers. We have to speak to communists. We have to speak to students and the youth and solicit their views. More importantly, we have to take into account the work that is done by our branches. So we cannot be compared with any party in terms of how highly consultative and very engaged our processes are. But we still, emerge and produce a list that we've just spoken to you about. So I suppose that really covers it then. Turning to News 24, Siamtanda, names of those fingered in the Zondo Commission. So there's the State Capture Commission that fingers people. Then the processes of the ANC kick in. And what are those processes? Processes of the ANC in a form of the Integrity Commission. So anyone that was fingered was subjected to those processes, the Integrity Commission. There are cases where some of those that were found by the Integrity Commission to have a case to answer doesn't mean that just because you were fingered in the Zondo Commission, you automatically didn't need to pass the muster in terms of the internal processes of the ANC. But where the Integrity Commission comes to a conclusion, they say you have a case to answer, then you get called into the Integrity Commission. In fact, comrades were asked to voluntarily do so. Where the Integrity Commission finds that there's something untoward about your conduct, they will then make representations. The NEC took a decision that anyone that was implicated in the Zondo Commission must subject themselves to the Integrity Commission. Those that did not do so, the NEC took a decision that they must be taken to a disciplinary process. So those are the processes of the ANC that will give you a sense of how the state capture report was given the necessary significance and was prioritized. Quite apart from sometimes of a public narrative that suggests that the state capture recommendations in respect of some of our members that were implicated has been treated with a very lackluster response. So in terms of names of those fingered, if the Integrity Commission and the NDC cleared those comrades, you will find them in our list. They would have gone through a vetting process which is run by a hugely independent electoral committee. They would have been vetted in terms of a number of elements in terms of the vetting. But a whole lot of that detail, you will be having the list by then, by Monday. You probably would be able to ventilate specific individuals when the SG and President Mutlante appears here. I'm just giving you really a sneak peek into what we're focusing on. I want to turn to the right. I'll start there.
Thank you very much. My name is Mawande. I'm from the Sunday World. Especially maybe just to pick up on a few issues that you mentioned first, the issue of vetting. How far does it go with this vetting? To vet for criminal purposes or even other socially wrong behavior that is not necessarily with law enforcement? That's the question. Okay. And then number two, the issue of lifestyle audits. Do you do them to the extent that you can stand here and confidently say that all those that have made it to the final list are living within their means according to their own sources of income, and that there will be anything also that can blow up about people living beyond their means having been audited in terms of their lifestyle? And then thirdly, well, maybe around the issue of the people who are implicated in the Integrity Commission, how does the ANC stay its views in that we find only these people, such as those that are accused of having stolen qualifications, and then maybe finally as a writer to that, the issue of renewal, is it in its content and form, what is renewal? Because it does appear confusing, especially during processes like this, where things that were said to be done in advancement of the renewal process seem to be taking place. Is it just a slogan or is it clear? Thank you very much.
Just my thinking, for me, I think somewhere in December, when first month resigned, the ANC is the statement basically saying those who were implicated in the state capture will not feature on those lists. From those sentiments from the SG, what has changed if indeed those who were implicated in the state capture are in those lists? And maybe this might be something that you can confirm or not confirm, but are people like Mansangile Kumende on the list, Ms. Batumile Dlamini, Dr. Zwelin Keys, are they part of those lists? And if who indeed maybe Ms. Batumile Kumende is there in the list, doesn't it then undermine the issue of step aside and all those, and how do you plan to deal with that, or the issue of the step aside is just something that is gone now? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think on that particular matter, we had about 4 comrades that were flagged by the Special National Executive Committee. These will be spoken about in detail when the list has been published. So I won't go into speaking about names of people here. I came to outline the process that we have followed. There are of those that have been flagged by virtue of having been fingered in the State Capture Commission report and then subjected to the internal process of the ANC, going through that process up until a stage where there was an agreement that they are not eligible to stand as public representatives, and certainly for provincial legislatures and parliament. So I just wanted to give you a sense of that there is no such a thing as a blanket approach to the state capture report, because you've got to test each case on its merit. And the state capture report must actually be assisted by the ANC's own internal democratic processes. And I think it ties in with the question about Gamawande, whether is there such a thing as renewal? Yes. The very candidate selection process that we're talking about today is a step in the direction of renewal. Where on earth have you seen the ANC doing things in the way that it is doing for a good number of nominations that were well over 2,400 or thereabout, and whittled down to about 284, going through a thorough process of being interviewed, of testing your CV, of vetting your qualifications through an independent, expert-led process of vetting your criminal standing or criminal record. If you're not maintaining your children, it will flag you, etc., etc. So I'm responding to the other question as well that you're asking. And then Lunga, I'm just trying to look at the other question that you asked, Babu Mavuso, referring to the fact that those implicated, being implicated in a report, I could wake up and say, Lunga stole money from Mail and Guardian. I could wake up and do so, simply because I'm being malicious, or I've been sent to do that. Whatever allegation that is made against you always have got to be tested, and the rule of law needs to apply. So in that same way, every South African does deserve that. Of course, public representatives, of course, leaders of the ANC have a much more bigger moral obligation to take the issue, any allegation, as seriously as possible and where people are implicated, which is why we're strengthening these oversight institutions that are meant to assist us with ethics and integrity management in the organization, in the form of the Integrity Commission and in the form of the work of the National Disciplinary Committee, as well as the independent and rigorous work done in selecting these candidates under the leadership of the Electoral Committee. This is how I would approach my response to the questions that you have all raised. I want to have a look at whether we have another hand. I don't see any. I want you to look forward to Monday, the date that you have with our Secretary General and President Mutlante. Sorry, I've got a city press over there. That will be the last one. Oh, in terms of how we go about it, or how we are going to go about it.
Yeah, is it done?
It's going to be done. Because remember, in the guidelines it says must be prepared to subject themselves to lifestyle audits. So what has had to be done beforehand, and I'm happy to say it is now completed, is the vetting process. It's been completed for all the candidates. Nomen?
My name is Nomen Masumi from City Press. My question is regarding the consultative processes. How much, in terms of percentage, how much does your alliance partners, how much are they represented, and then how much, in terms of their presentation, how much did they want representation in there, and how much did the ANC give them that representation? Yeah, that would be my question.
Okay, we didn't do the maths. The nature of the relationship in the alliance is a relationship born in struggle. Remember also the leaders of the ANC who are members or leaders of this or that other alliance formation. The most important and the fundamental principle is that when you look at the candidate list of the ANC at a province level or at a national level, you should be able to see various strata, various classes, various social formations represented. It must reflect, it must be a macrocosm of society. You must see young people, which is why for the first time we're going to see, I'm anticipating some of the youngest ministers and going in that direction, which is why you're going to see socialists advancing developmental work or developmental economics as part of the work of the ANC, which is why you want to see some of those that have been there before in the interest of continuity and change. You'll see former worker leaders or former trade unionists, which has been the case before. But what is more exciting is that you're having a new crop coming in and taking the baton. because we have a number of these senior leaders also from the alliance who are now taking retirement and from within the ANC. And some of those things will be really fully unpacked on Monday about who those are. It's a total of 31 people that are retiring, and that makes for interesting thinking about how the ANC renews itself by making sure that this idea of an intergenerational transition is given, oxygen in the work that we've been doing, candidate selection process. Did I answer your question, Norman?
Yes,
all right. Thank you very much. With that, I think we can close, and I'd like to thank you, members of the media, for making yourself available. We are adjourned.